Hi, in this tutorial you will learn communication between APIs with Feign Client in Spring Boot by Aliyu Sahabo Adam Coding Techniques. What is Feign Client? Feign is a declarative web service client. It makes communication between APIs very easy. Spring project offers nice integration with Feign. Feign is a Java HTTP client binder designed for a clean and expressive API interactions. It simplifies HTTP API calls by abstracting away much of the boilerplate code required for HTTP communication. What you will learn in this tutorial: make a REST API call with Feign Client for get, post, put, and delete. Configure login with Feign Client. You will learn about the interceptors and handling exception in Feign Client. We will use the CRUD REST application to make REST API call with Feign Client, and here is the project. I will provide this in the description. You will find the link to the repository in the description, and as well the tutorial for the CRUD REST application. Okay, we will download this. So let's go to the code, download zip. Okay, so here is it downloads. When we go to the download, we will find this. Then we need to extract here. Okay, so once we extract this, we will import it into the IDE. I am using the STS. So here you will find the import project. Click on the import project. You can see existing Maven project. Click next. Okay, so let's check the directory. It is in the download. Here is the CRUD REST application. We select this. Okay, then click finish. So here is the CRUD application that we just imported. Okay, it is important, and the next thing we will do is we will start working on the Feign client. Okay, now that our application is ready, we need to add the dependency for the Feign client. So let's open this. Here in the pom.xml, we will add the dependency for the Feign client. So let's just go to the pom.xml and right click. So we will see the Spring add status. Okay, it will connect us to the stats.spring.io to add the dependency. Okay, here it is. Now we need a Feign starter dependency, that is Feign. Here is the open Feign, and we also need the load balancer. Okay, that is cloud load balancer. We need the cloud load balancer. Here it is. So let's click on this. Here is the two dependency that we will use. Click on next. So copy all non-conflict changes from right to the left. Okay, then click finish. So we now added the dependency for the Feign client. If you scroll, you will see the dependency and the load balancer that we just added. Okay, the next thing we will start working on making a. Okay, now that we added the dependency, before making the REST API call, we need to enable the Feign client. So let's go to the here in the CRUD application. So we need to enable the Feign client. Enable Feign client enable Feign client. Okay, so we enable Feign client by this. Then let's go to the controller and check what we are about to make the REST API call about. Here you can see we have the create, and we have the read, which is the get. We also have the update and as well as delete. So we will use this in this tutorial. Okay, first what we will do is we will start with the create first and then read. So we will first define a interface for making this REST API call. So inside the package, we call this package, let's call this package prosy. Okay, and inside this we need a new interface. We call this student client. Okay, so inside this interface, first we need to annotate this with @Feign Client. So we will define the name of the client and as well as the URL. So let's start with the URL. URL is http localhost 8080. That is it. Okay, and the next thing, the name of the client that will make the REST API call with this name. So the name will be, let me write student API client. Okay, because this example is on student. So let's define the save. We will save user, go to the controller, and it is returning for the create, it is returning a response entity of student. So we need to define this as it is here. So let's copy this and just go to the student. Okay, here it is, and we need to annotate this with @post mapping. Okay, then here inside the controller, let's check the @post mapping. It is simple as this, student client. Okay, we will use this method that we just defined to make the REST API call, and we will save a student. Okay, so let's go to the, now we will define a new package. So new package, and we call this package runner. So click on finish. Then we will create new class application runner. So we need to save the user immediately with the command line runner. So this will implement command line runner. Here it is. We will have the run method of the command line runner on implemented method. We will annotate this with @component. Let's annotate this with @component. Okay, so before saving this user, let's go to the student model. Here in the model class, model package, we will see we have this student. Okay, we have these getters and setters, and what we're going to do next is we will generate the toString method. Okay, because when we get this, we need to see it in the console, not just object. So generate toString method. Okay, generate. So that is all we will do here. Here it generated the at the top of the class. So let's copy this and take it to the bottom. Okay, save the changes and then go back to the runner. Let's close this, and we need to go back to the runner. First we need to call this interface that we just defined, private student client, student client. So let's annotate this with @autowired. Okay, so we will make this call with this. So let's have a logger. We need a logger to have it on the console. Logs dot get name. Okay, so here it is. Then the next thing, we will use the logger dot info, and let's specify that this is a post request. Okay, then we will use the student client dot, we need to access the method save. So here we will pass the student that we want to save. Okay, so let add, because this method expects a request body, so we need a new student. So student, and we will pass what we have in the constructor of this, which is first we will start with the name. The name that I will use here is Aliyu, and we also need a department, mathematics, and I also need a level here, so we'll add the level like this. So this is what we need to save the user. We just need to now run the application. So let's run this application and save this user to the database. When the user is saved, when the application started, we will immediately see the user that we save. Okay, you can see here we have the post request that we just met, and the status is 200, which is okay, and here is the student that we save. The ID given to the student is 152, it generated, and here is the name Aliyu, department mathematics, and the level is 100. Okay, so this is the save request using the Feign client, and we successfully met this. The next thing we will do is the get request. To make a get request, let's go to the first controller, and we can see that we have read here, that is get. So, and it also have these headers, you can see. So first we will consider what it returns. It returns iterable of student, so we need to copy this. Okay, and go to the student client. So we'll add this to the, so the next thing, we also need to copy here in the student controller, we need to copy this and go back to the student client, and as well save this. Okay, so what we will do next is that we will go to the application runner. First we need to comment this, because once we leave it, it will also save another student when it's run with the same name. So let's remove this for now, and we'll use logger dot info, and we will add this as the get request. So we'll call the student client dot, we have get student here. So let's see what we'll get when we save this and rerun the application. Okay, here is the application started, and you can see we have the get request, which return 200 accepted, and we can see the student that we have. Okay, here is the headers. We have headers as semester, we have second semester, and we have this year 2024 as we added in the controller. You can see here is the semesters and the year. Okay, this is the get request, and the next thing we will do is the update. So we will make the update here. Let's check what it returned. That is the get request. You can see we have the name Aliyu, department mathematics. I will change this mathematics to physics and this 100 to 200 using the update. So let's call the update, and here is what the update return. So we just need to copy this, and we need to consider the parameter that we have. We have the path variable. We define the ID of the student, and we also have the request body. So we will pass this to this method update student. And first, let's consider the ID of this student. The ID is 152, so we will use this ID to update. So let's go to the student client, and we need to have this. So, and here inside the student controller, we still need to copy what we have here and add it to the student client. Okay, so here are we, and the next thing we will do is we will call this method. So let's go back to the application runner, and let me drag this down. We need to use the logger.info. So we need this update request. Okay, so plus, so we will call the student client dot update student. So we need to pass the ID. It is 152. Okay, and we need to add L to set that it is a long. If not, the compiler will consider it an integer, and it is a long. So let me break this down. Okay, and we'll pass this. So here is the student that we want to save. We want to update. Copy this student and then add it here. I will change this to physics, and this to level to 200 level. Okay, so let's save this, and since that we are using the live reload, we will see the changes immediately appear. Okay, here is the update that we just made. Okay, and you can see we changed the department to physics, and you can see we have this as 200 level. Okay, and the status is okay. So the next thing we will do is delete. That is the only student that we have in the database, and we will delete this student. The delete, we need to delete with this ID 52 as well. So we will go back to the student controller, and the last one we have here is delete. We need to copy this to our Feign Client, student client. Okay, so let's add this here. Here we have the delete. We will delete by the ID. Okay, let's have this. Okay, we will call this in our application runner, and here is it, logger.info delete. delete request, and we'll call this using the student client dot, and here is the delete student. We'll delete the 152. We'll provide this L to indicate that it is alone. So let's rerun this. When we save, you can see we have the delete request and it is 200. Okay, student with the ID 52 deleted. Okay, so that is what we have. The next thing, we're going to look at the login configuration. Okay, in this section we will look at login with Feign Client. Remember, in the last tutorial, we delete the only user that we have in the database. At least we need to add another users which we will use for this to monitor the login. So let's comment this update and delete. We only need to work with the get, and we need to save another users, so we need to uncomment this. So we need to uncomment this, and we need to duplicate it. We'll need two users. So let me change this name to Haider like this, and then I will use physics here, physics, the level 200. So we are now saving these users. So let's save the changes and check the console. We will see that we have these users. Okay, and here are the, so let's comment this again. We don't need it now. Okay, so before going to start with the login, we need to add the dependency for the SLF4J. So this is the dependency that we will add to our pom.xml, that is SLF4J dependency for the Feign. So you will find this also in the Maven repository when you search with the SLF4J Feign. So let's add this to the pom.xml. Okay, so and save. While it is loading, let's create a new package, call this config. That is where we will have the config class for the login. So now let's create new class and call this class student client configuration. Student client configuration. Okay, we will annotate this class with at configuration, and we'll a bin of logger. So here it is, and let's define a bin. So we will have the public logger. So when adding the logger, you will have a level. So we will use this Feign, and we will access the level. So call on or return the logger level dot full. That is, we will have the full. So that is all we need to do here. And then the next thing we will do is we will go to the application properties. First, we need to add this configuration to student client, so that it will know about this configuration. We'll have the student client configuration dot class. Okay, that is all. And then the next thing we need to do is go to the pom.xml. So no application dot properties. here, and we will have the login dot level, the name of this package here inside the application. Here it's the name. Go to the application dot properties and then add this name. Okay, so, and we will set it to debug, like how we added this. So let's save the changes and rerun the application. Once we run, we will see the login detail, and all our request detail. So we need to stop this for now. We run the application. So okay, so you can see we have the details of the login. Okay, you can see here is the headers for this request. Okay, now the next thing we will work on is the interceptors. So let's do this together. With the help of the interceptors, we will add the new custom headers to our request. Okay, so let's define a package for this. We will name this package interceptors. Okay, so let's create a new class and we will call this token request interceptor. Token request interceptor. Okay, so this will implement the request interceptor for the Feign client. So let me drag this down and have the implement request interceptor. Okay, we will have this add on implemented method. So we'll add the custom headers using this variable. We'll access the headers. You can see we have the solid at the header, assuming it is token, and this token is, let me add 1 2 3 4 just as the token. Okay, and the next thing we will do is we will add this in the config. Okay, let's save these changes and go to the config class. Here it is, and we'll add the admin public request interceptor, and we'll have to return the new class that we just defined, and the new class is the token request interceptor. Return new token request, we will return. Okay, we need to import this, so let's import. This will be from the coding techniques. Here it is, interceptors. Okay, so let's save these changes and rerun the application to see if we will have these new headers that we have added to the request. Okay, let's rerun the app. First stop this and run. Okay, let's check to see the add in the log. So go to the top. Here is the, you can see we have this token 1 2 3 4. So this is, in this section we will going to look at error handling with Feign client. when we make a request and this request that we make, it has error in the response, so the response we will have is that we will have the Feign Client exception, sometimes without giving them much details about this exception. But the Feign Client provides the error decoder. That is the way we will have to customize the exception and know exactly what is going on. So now what we will do first, we need to provide a Feign Client error details here in the model, so which will the object that will provide us information about the error. So we will create new class and we will call this class Feign Client error details. Feign Client error details. Okay, so let's have this. Okay, so this class that we will have the object mapper. The object mapper that we will have to map the incoming response to this object. So we need to have the @JSON ignore properties. So it will ignore the field that it don't know, ignore unknown, and we set this to true. Okay, so this is fine. And the next thing we will do, we will define the field. We'll start with the private int status. Okay, and private string error. We also need a private string. We will have the path, so we also need a private string. We need a time stamp. Okay, so let's generate constructor for this. Generate constructor. So we need to deselect all because I want to generate a constructor with no parameter face, and we need to generate a constructor with all these fields. Generate constructor using field, generate. Okay, and we need to generate getters and setters as well. Generate getters and setters, select all, generate, then save these changes. Okay, so let's close all these classes that we will not use here and accept the model. We need to close all this to avoid confusion. Okay, so what we will do next is that we will define the exception that will throw. So we will have the client exception inside this package. New class, we will call this client exception. Client exception, finish. Okay, so this class will extend the runtime exception. Will extend the runtime exception. Okay, and we will generate a constructor. So let's go to, we'll generate the constructor and let's use from super class. Deselect all, we choose the runtime. Okay, generate. So we're going to pass the information about the error inside the super, but what we need to pass the information, we need our model because the Feign Client error details in the model have all the information that we need. So what we will do, we'll have this Feign Client error detail, Feign Client error details. So let's provide this information here. So first thing we need is we need string dot format. Okay, string dot format, and we need to provide this. Let me remove this. Okay, for now I will just add. Okay, so we'll start giving the information exception with status. So then we provide the status using the %d, which represents the integer, and we go and set the arrow again. For the arrow is we need this. Okay, exception with status, we provide the status, and arrow, we provide the arrow. So let's go next. Let's read this message. Exception with status, here is the status, and arrow, here is the arrow, while calling the path, here is the path, and then timestamp, we also provide this. So now let's provide this detail to the string format, and I will break this down. So let's start with the status. So we'll use the Feign Client details dot get status. Okay, followed by the arrow Feign. So, and we need to go and define the arrow decoder. So we save these changes, and we need to define new package, and this package we will call it arrow handling. So inside this arrow handling package, we will define the custom arrow decoder class. So let's have new class custom arrow decoder, and this will implement arrow decoder. We'll have arrow implement arrow decoder. Okay, we'll have the message, we'll have the message here, we will customize the response message here. Okay, so and I will change this to method key, and as well as this I will change this to response. Okay, on the we will use the try catch. So within this we need to use the input stream, in which we will receive the response body as input stream. Input stream equal to, let's have this as response, the variable as response body equal to response dot body dot as input stream. So now we will receive this as input stream, and we need the object mapper, which we will use to map this coming response body to our class that we defined, that is Feign Client arrow details. So let's define the object mapper. Object mapper equal to new object mapper. Okay, so the next thing we will do is we will use the Feign Client arrow details that we have defined. Feign client error detail, Feign client error detail. Here we will call the object mapper dot read value, let's read value. So we specify it here. Okay, so let's drag this. First we will pass the response body, and we will map the response body to a class Feign client error details dot class. That is all we do here. The next thing we will do is we will, instead of returning something, we will just throw exception. So let me remove this null. For this we will throw new runtime exception, new runtime exception, runtime exception. So it is, so we will pass the message here, and the message will be error occur while decoding the response. That is, if we get error decoding this response, we'll say that error occurred while decoding the response. Okay, that is all we will do here. So the next thing we will do, instead of return throw an exception, providing the details, that is the essential detail. So we will throw our exception that we just defined, throw new, that is client exception, client. So when we will pass this Feign client error details, okay, and it will, the client exception will get information by providing this client error details. Okay, that is not all. We just will save this and go to the config and add this as a pin. So, okay, now let's have this custom error decoder to add it as a pin. So we'll have public error decoder, and here it is, error decoder. We will return the custom error decoder, return new custom error decoder, okay. So okay, let's rerun the application and test. So now let's have a case for error, and we will go to the application runner. So here we have this get request that we are making. Now let's make this inside the Feign client, student client that we have here. So let's change this get a little. Now we will have 404, since that we changed the real name of the path. So that is, we have error. So let's see if it will log the error that we have. Okay, so okay, now let's go to the top. Well, you can see we have error while decoding the response. When you scroll down, you can see what causes the error. So you see we have the exception with status 404, error not found. Let's go further and see. While calling the path, it provides this path and the timestamp. If you remember, that is the same thing we define inside this exception. You can see we have this client exception, and you can see the message that we added, exception with status. The same thing here, it started with the exception with status 404 and provide all the detail. Okay, so and when we change this, we go to the client and set it to normal and save the changes. We will not longer have this exception. So let's try to rerun the program. So the exception will disappear. So that is how we use the error decoder to provide the essential details and no error again. Okay, that is what we have the end of this tutorial. If you enjoyed this video, please share and subscribe.